Hi everyone from me, Brent Graham, goodforthegame.co.za. Good to have you with us here. It's a Thursday afternoon, 4 o'clock in South Africa. And let me tell you, you'll soon spot who the South Africans are and who the guy is who's based in the UK. Because we're going to be covering the Hollywoodbets Durban July. That, of course, takes place on Saturday at 4 o'clock at Greyville. And we've got a couple of feature race. I like to call them feature race experts to chat with us on the show. Let's start at the top of my screen. I'm going to bring him in first because if anyone's going to drop off the show, it's going to be him. Jason Dedican, you're halfway through a load shedding about there at the moment. A little woozy, as you know, on the Good for the Game forum from your golfing days. What your power's back on at 6, eh? You're relying on battery power at the moment.
Yeah, battery on the phone, Brent. Good afternoon to the Good for the Game viewers. And yeah, looking forward to a good July. We can't script this in South Africa right now. I mean, Joburg's always badly hit. Can't think what the guys are doing in Cape Town and Durban. You know, poor old Durban with all the no water, no electricity. You know, we just hope that powers that be start making some sane decisions. But looking forward to the show, looking forward to dissecting the July and obviously the rest of the card. I've seen Alan's selections and like I said on the group, I think we read different books.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see the differences on the opinion on the show. I must tell you as well, yeah, we'll see. We've never gone out live for our Durban July preview. I mean, the three of us have done previews over the years, but we've always sent it out afterwards. So I'm not too sure how many guys will get in at 4 o'clock, particularly the South African audience. I sent it out to all my mates, and almost without fail, they all come back and said, load shedding. And while on the topic of load shedding, I don't think you can hear it in the background, but I actually had to put my generator on 10 minutes before the show because my power's probably gone off now. It was going off at 4 o'clock South African time. So anyway, one man who doesn't have any power problems, he says if the electricity goes off there for 30 seconds, people start to panic. And then he's over in the UK. It's Alan Moskrop, Southpaw ZA, well known on the Good for the Game forum as a man who can find those well-priced feature race winners. Good to welcome you back to the show, South.
Hey, Brent. Hey, Jason. Hi, guys. Yeah, no, great to be back. Looking forward to it. Good to be back after a year or so since our last show. But yeah, all good this side. Looking forward to a big weekend on Saturday. Got to squeeze the horse racing next to a full day of rugby. You can sit on the couch all day if you wanted, from like 2 a.m. till 8 p.m. Rugby internationals. You've got the Tour de France, got the July, the racing. So yeah, hope you're in the good books with the missus to have the TV and the racing for yourself all day long on Saturday.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And on that note, if you are watching the show live or perhaps one of the recorded versions, the handicap rugby chat that matters, that's taking place tonight at 9. We've got some Hollywood vouchers to give away there as well. So subscribe and hit the bell and make sure you get notified of that. There is plenty of sport this weekend. I don't even want to touch it on the Tour de France. I'll be doing video previews for each of those. But let's get stuck into the Durban July. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to run through in sort of betting order, and you can give me your opinions. We'll alternate, get your opinions on the horses. And then we'll have a look and then obviously bed down the bet. So, South, I'm going to start with you. Top of the betting boards here at Hollywoodbets, we've got Safe Passage at 4-1.
Yeah, Mike de Kock's runner. So, he hasn't had a win in this race since 2011. I think it was a Gugu. Gugu, yeah. So, it's got, I think, the favourite, just about favourite at the moment. It's not a strong favourite, certainly based on past Julys. I think this one's got a big chance for me. Great win last time out in the Daily News, and that's the big official going into the July. It's I think it showed its well-being. It liked the course coming down from Joburg for that one ride in Natal. Musi keeps the ride. I think he's unbeaten on the horse. So to me, huge chance. Probably not quite in my top few selections, but massive respect for the Cock yard. Sounded pretty bullish on the Hollywood show the other night as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard about that. I didn't get to watch that one, but I heard he was very bullish on that. Jason, Safe Passage?
I think the price is still a bit skinny. But they've been talking on the sort of the other shows this week that it's not going to start favourite and that linebacker is going to start favourite. If you look at one of the betting exchanges here, there's massive money for linebacker. Linebacker is actually the favourite on one or two of the other bookmaker boards and on the betting exchange. So, the top two on the betting, I think 4-1's a bit skimpy. I think it should be 5-1 the field, probably those two. Massive respect. Mark de Kock seems to think this is gives the opinion that this is the right one. He says this horse after its last start in the Daily News, which was only 80% ready for. I mean, it drifted off the boards, as the guys say, and a lot of people wanted to back it and then didn't because of, what was said in the media and that. But he says that the good thing about this horse has got a very high recovery rate. Its heart rate recovers like that. So he doesn't have to do much with this horse. So he was talking it up very much, that and Sparkling Water the other day, and massive respect for it. I think like Alan said, you know, Muzi's 3 from 3. You don't win races like it's done without having a touch of class. Of the 3-year-olds, this is the worthy favourite and the worthy selection of the 3-year-olds. You know, it's only blemished its copybook recently when it finished second to Red Saxon. Now Red Saxon's 40-1, this is 4-1. So, you know, you got to take all those things with a pinch of salt. But based on its last run, phenomenal finish. I think this horse will be right there. And like Alan says, it, you know, does it fall part of my top 4? I think it will. But you know, this is a very wide open July. That's why I say 5-1 for me should be the field.
Right, well, I'm going to stick with you for the next race. Just let you know, I've got the Hollywood. These prices that I'm putting up were probably about an hour ago, but I see no change to Safe Passage and for the other one, Linebacker. If I see any changes come up, I'll mention them. And as we run through the balance of the card, we'll actually just bring up all of the Hollywood bets betting there as well. Jason, Linebacker, you touched on it. You said lots of money for this one. I spoke to Brendan O'Connell just before I came on the show as well. He was saying for him it's Linebacker, although he did fear Safe Passage, but he's going for Linebacker.
Yeah, there's a lot of pundits out there saying Linebacker, and why not? I mean, it finished. What did it finish? Third in this race, or second in this race last year behind Kometi Ding. So much better off at the weights. Plum draw of 4. Grant van Niekerk knows the horse well. 2 comeback runs in Durban. The first one, we won't say it was a prep run, but you know, he was just there to put up a gallop. Last run, second behind Elmo Turner over a distance of 1,600 meters. The blinkers are still on at the moment. I don't know what's going to happen come carded time, but he tried blinkers last time out and they stay on. Very good effort. He's done nothing wrong. He's there. Of the 4-year-olds, he's right there in the class of the top ones. So for me, Linebacker, I won't stop anybody having a bet on him. I just think for me, 5-1, like I said, with an open July, you tend to look for the double-priced horses that could possibly spring a result, but I won't stop anybody from having a bet on Linebacker. I think Vaughan Marshall, you know, he wants to win this race. He's primed this horse for this race. Grant van Niekerk was on the Hollywood show and says he's dying to win this race after was so close with Smanje Manje. So everything to this horse, you know, you just got to follow Facebook and some of those groups there. Linebacker is a horse that's very much touted by a lot of well entrusted Cape Townians. So, you know, obviously you got to think, are they being a little bit sort of biased, or do they know what's happening with the Cape Town trainers? And for me, you know, like I said, 5-1, 6-1 Linebacker, probably a good price.
Right, Alan, do you agree with that?
Yeah, it'd be 5-1 for me, probably a little bit short. It hasn't really kicked on for me. The 3-year-old form was amazing. It was top notch, and I know they really fancied it to win last year. As Jason said, that the jockey and the trainer are dying to win this race. They're really going. They've plotted this race out again for this horse all season. The blinkers on last time maybe sharpened it up a little bit. I think they'll probably stay on. It just hasn't won since May last year, so that's my only concern. It's not quite getting to the front all the time. So probably I put it down as a place chance. I don't have it in my top 3 either. I just think that hasn't quite hit that top 3-year-old form just so far as a 4-year-old. And I think there's probably some others who might be hitting some better form.
I agree with that, Al, but yeah, we also got to just remind the punters out there too, and the followers, that a lot of these horses don't win these races come Durban season because they incur those penalties. We'll touch on a horse called Hoorspruit just now, who is the Bulgarian of a couple of years ago. So, you know, I've never been a great Linebacker fan, but like I said, he's actually not in my top 4, but I can see him winning, if that makes any sense, because at the end of the day, like we said, there's probably out of a field of 18, and even the 2 reserves, if they were in the field, could still have a chance of winning. I think it's a very, very wide open July.
Yeah, agree. I think it's the sort of horse that's not going to be bothered by, you know, when the pace is on or not. It's the sort of horse that you're going to have a chance with it no matter what. If it's a slow run race or a true run race, this horse, if you've got money on it, you'll have a chance no matter what. Correct.
It's a good top 6. If you want to have a big punt, good top 6 punt at Hollywood.
Yeah, I see the bookies have got odds generally 6. I'm tend to be, especially in the July, I tend to be guy tries to hit the winner on the nose. I guess it's because I just go for those longer odds and that sort of stuff. I'm interested to see how we go in this one. I mean, correct my pronunciation. Is it Pompenpower or Pomp and Power. I'm expecting it's the latter, but just confirm that. A very interestingly named one.
Yeah, Pomp and Power. One of the Snaith runners. I think probably not as good as some of his 3-year-olds that he's maybe had in the past. I've watched it. I watched yesterday its runs again from his last few outings. It seems to be quite a headstrong horse. Seems to pull quite a bit, so they needed to settle. I think they said that on the on one of the shows as well. This horse just has to settle for it to have its best race. Didn't quite finish out the race last time out. Sort of it was again pulled to the front and maybe just found a little bit wanting towards the end. Concern on the trip for me, although it has won over 2,000, so that should negate those concerns. I'm just not sure it's the best 3-year-old crop that Snaith has had in compared to past years. So I'm actually looking at the others in the yard, and I think Jason's alluded to another one in the yard that might have caught both of our eyes already. But for me, I just put place chance. I don't see him quite getting to the top 3, but I could be wrong.
Right, and just to welcome Des Simons, who's listening to the show, and also Kevin Turner there in the live chat. Jason, what about this one for you?
Take nothing away from this horse. Richard Ferree's chosen to ride this. Obviously, like Alan said, he needs to settle, and everybody's been going on and on about this horse having to settle, being headstrong, pulling. But if you look at the July Gallop, Justin Snaith had a proper plan there. They took a lead pony. They taught him to drop in behind the lead pony. He was a bit headstrong, and then he dropped his head and settled behind. So he said on the Hollywood show that the plan is not for this horse to lead. They want him to settle. If he settles, like everybody says, it's not rocket science based on the form. He's a massive runner at the weights. But will he settle, and will he see out the 2-2? For me, I'm not saying he can't win it. I just think there are better horses in this race that stand more of a chance. But having said that, you also just follow social media again. Greg Bortz, Durban boy, now Cape Town boy, owner of this horse with Etienne Braun and the Green Acres Trust, has been saying, guys, don't forget about me now. This horse is primed. This horse is ready to win. So it's in the category of sort of linebacker. I won't be talking people out of having their money on it, but I won't be having my money on it. I'll stick it in the pick 6 because, at the end of the day, it's 3rd, 4th favorite. You don't want to go out with those. But for me, I'm looking for a little bit more value. If this horse was 12, 16 to 1, then yes, because at the end of the day, it's been beaten the last couple of starts by Zapatilis and Safe Passage. So Zapatilis is 16 to 1. This horse is obviously 8 to 1. I know there's a little weight turnaround as such, slight weight turnaround, but for me, it's just got a little bit more to do. I'm not too convinced, if you understand the meaning there.
Right, excellent. I just wanted to be in contention coming down the straight as the other commentator shouted out, and hear that pronunciation there. Right, guys, we're going to get to the first question of the day. I'm going to ask the panel not to answer it just yet. We don't have too many guys joining in the live chat, but I'm sure there's one or two who might be able to make a contribution here. Then we'll talk about the next horse. So it's quite an interesting one. I actually found this looking up a bit of Durban July trivia. There have been 7 objections in the Durban July. And what I want to know is how many have been upheld. And there's a 200 Rand Hollywoodbets betting voucher up for grabs there. So just to repeat, 7 objections. How many of those 7 have actually been upheld and actually been successful? Jason, let's go to you now for Sparkling Water. You said he was also highly spoken of on the Hollywood show. 8.33 to 1 year. Sorry, I don't have the fractional betting. I've actually got a problem logging onto my account, so I've got the decimals. 8.33 to 1.
Mark de Kock says this is, he was asked about what he would tip to run in the first 4, and this was the horse he selected. So he's obviously very confident. I mean, 4-year-old coming in with 53.5. Samanga Kamala's jumped off Jet Dark to stay with Sparkling Water. I don't think there's any stamina doubts here, but for me, is she as good as some of the better horses in this race? Mark alluded to the fact that she hasn't beaten the cream of the crop yet, but she just gives all the time. She needs a strong pace. She can be running on at them at the death. I mean, the race she won in Cape Town, there's no ways that she should have won that race. I mean, she weaved her way through the field, got up. She was miles behind, and she's all heart. So at 8 to 1, she's one of the horses that I'll be putting in the quartet. Like I said, I'm trying to beat the favourites. I actually like the other 2 of the de Kock yard to actually upstage the 2 we've mentioned thus far. But for me, Sparkling Water, drawn 12, will be running at them. Simanga's very confident. You got to put it into your quartet. Can it win? Yes. But like I said, I'm looking for the 12-1, 10-12, 40-1 shots.
Yeah, I'm a bit like you on that one as well. South?
Yeah, I think that the news about the Kamala taking the rides definitely suppressed the price a bit. I think there's a lot is read into that. The fact that he could have taken the ride on Jet Dark and they've taken the ride on this one. So I think that's what's brought the price down a bit. I'm a bit concerned about the track. I think Jason mentioned how she won that stayer race in Kenilworth and you have to weave her way through, but you don't weave up Greyville anymore. Unfortunately, with 18 horses across the track, there's not much room for weaving. And that's my worry for this horse, is just coming off the pace. She'll be running on, but when you look at the course, what it is now, since they changed it, 10 years ago, whatever it was, it's just a different course. You don't have that width that you used to have since they put the poly in. So I just think that counts against horses that run from off the pace, or certainly run from well off the pace, and that's my concern for her. I just think maybe the track's not suited. I'm not sure what sort of how many times she's gone to look at the course. Just a bit of a concern about, will she find any room when she's running on? Because she will be running on. I just think perhaps going to find a bit of trouble in running.
Well, let's pop back to the question quickly, because we've had a couple of answers there. Just want to ask the panelists as a matter of interest. Alan, do you know the answer to this one? How many objections have been upheld over the years?
I don't. I remember the last one because I had the horse that came out on top, who was Power King, the prediction of that one. So I sweat for about 15 minutes. I think that was the last one, but no, I don't know actually.
And you, Jason?
No, good question.
Well, Vin actually got it. He did admit to using Google, but nothing wrong with that if you're quick enough. So, Vin, well done. 200 Rand Hollywoodbets voucher to you. 3 objections have been upheld over the years. And, Vin, you can email me, Brent, at goodforthegame.co.za to claim your prize there. We've got a couple more questions coming on later in the show. We'll have a couple more winners. And let's go on to the next horse. It's horse number 1. South, we'll start with you. Aragosta, 10-1 at Hollywood.
Yeah, another one of the cock runners. I've got a kind of something I do when it comes to the July every year. Is I tend to look at any horses that have run in the SA Derby, and I just don't look at that race very kindly in terms of its form line. So not many in the last 20 years. I think Pomodoro is the only horse that's come out from the Derby and won the Derby and then won the July. It's quite a testing race, the Derby at Turffontein, and that's caught a couple of good horses out over the years as they've come down a few months later for the July. So the first thing that caught my eye is it's running the Derby. Unfortunately for me, I immediately start to look at it as a negative. Although the run last time out was really good, nothing wrong with it whatsoever behind the stablemate. I just for me, not quite at the level of some of the others. So I just have it as an outside place chance in my book.
Right, Jason, this one for you.
Yeah, I mean, you got to throw it in for me. I like the booking of Warren Kennedy. I think that's a fantastic little coup for the stable and for the owners. I chatted to one of the owners during the week. They are very, very bullish. Obviously, more excited than confident. But it's 10-1 at Hollywood. Yesterday it was 14-1. So there's been money. The money's been put down. And the gallop, you can't fault the gallop. It galloped with safe passage. And with respect, Aragosta was triple handful compared to what safe passage was. So a lot of people say don't read too much into the gallops. I like looking at the horse's well-being, how they're striding out, and how they're just keeping a nice straight course. You don't want your head moving too much around. I think Aragosta's a runner from draw 1. Very versatile, can race handy, can come from off them. I don't see a lot of pace in the race. A lot of people are saying asterisks from the wide draw will come through and lead. I think Aragosta will be sitting 2nd or 3rd. And winning the SA Derby, take nothing away from what Alan said, but no stamina darts. So this horse could go and stretch them out and maybe set it up for Sparkling Water or a few coming off them, or it could stay on. So I expect this horse to be about 4th, 5th turning for home and then kicking as quick as you can. And at the moment, there's nobody better at Grable, particularly the jockey-elect Warren Kennedy.
Right, well, let's get on to the next. It's horse number 2, just Do It Again, currently at 10-1. Do It Again, previous winner of the July, once or twice, Jason?
Yeah, he's won it twice, and I'll be careful what I say. I won't say he should have won it last year, but albeit for major traffic problems, which, maybe I could have maybe missed a few of those horses, but take nothing away from Richard Fourie. I do think this is a massive runner. Just based on its gallop, I know the time was slow, but this horse looks well. The way he came out and won the Grable 1900, he was also he just turned it on. He has a flat spot, but then when he gets going, it's all about heart for him. And Justin Snaith obviously just also prepped him with one comeback run, and that's strategic. He had his nice little gallop at the Gallops last Thursday, which strategic. I think this horse, and I couldn't be happier with Aldo Doma as the jockey booking. I think for me, I know he hasn't ridden the horse yet, but for me, anybody else besides Richard Fourie jumping on top of this, I'm very happy with that booking. Draw 2 is my only concern. I do think he might be lagging a little bit and have to have a few miracles, but 2-time July winner that could have been a 3-time July winner, and you're getting double figures about him. Trainer's very confident of a great run. So I think 12, or I got 12, 14 to 1. I think 10 to 1 still a decent price for a little each way bet, because he's going to come flying. There's no doubt about that.
Alan, yourself, do it again.
Yeah, I think 7-year-old winning the July is tough. I think that the last time a 6-year-old won July, I think, was 2000. So that if it wasn't for the Snaith and this horse in terms of how it turns it on in the towel, 7 years old, I wouldn't give it a chance in hell. Still, history is against it. That is my concern as an older horse. They don't pop up that often, although this one has won it twice. So, I think on the day, if his heart's really in it, and this, as Jason said, this horse is a fighter, he'll be there. If he's in the mix turning for home, he's a big danger. Just for me, I tend to look maybe too much. I look at the history a bit too much, and I just think as a 7-year-old, it'll be incredible if he does it, but as a 7-year-old, I just don't see it happening. It's just to me, I just don't see a horse of that age winning a race like this. Records
are meant to be broken.
Exactly. I had to go back quite far to look for after. I think it was a 6-year-old in 2000. I think it was Alpecia, and then before that,
I think 1950 or 1949 was the last 7-year-old.
Yeah, going back plenty. So to me, I think last year was unlucky, but and the win last time out was decent. He definitely has hit a flat spot, and all of a sudden he turned it on. So one to keep an eye on, but not outside place chance is my view.
If you go rewatch the Met too, watch it lose 2 lengths and come flying up fastest 400 to finish. Should have got closer there too. I won't say should have won.
Saw that, yeah.
This boy's all hot. He's 3-time winner come Saturday afternoon. Watch.
Yeah, I know you've been bullish for a little while. I know you've been on him for a while.
I'm warning all the guys in the live chat and the guys watching off, because we're going to have lots of disagreement during the show here, because I think when Jason saw Alan's comments on the Good for the Game forum, and there's a link down below. In fact, I don't think I put the link in, so don't look at that just yet. But if you go to Good for the Game and click on forum, you'll find Alan's comments there. And Jason said he must be reading a different race card. So going to be interesting to see where else the boys disagree. Let's go to Comedy Dung. Can we have another fairy tale win here, South?
Listen, he's in my top few. So obviously last year he was my main pick for the race, and I know the things didn't turn out that well in terms of the 2 races up on the half fell. But before that, I didn't back him in the Met. I think me and Jason were both on Marina in the Met, and she ran a poor race unfortunately that day, and Comedy Dung won. If you're prepared to look past the 2 runs on the high fell, then just some horses take to the high fell, some don't, and this one clearly doesn't. He's back on the coast, and I watched that gallop, watched it a few times, and just a bit of a sparkle in the eye of Michelle Ricks. You could see she was very excited about the 2 gallops. They had the one extra gallop they put on a week or so before, and then the official gallop. So he looks well. I just think at the moment this horse is. I just think he's got a little bit more to come. I think he could really turns it on the big days. You got Gavin back up on board, and he sounds like he's pretty confident as well. So it's quite rare I'll back the same horse 2 years in a row, but he's in my top few. A massive chance for me on Saturday.
to welcome the Crow Tips, one of our regular guests on the handicap rugby betting show in as well. We're going to persuade him to have a bit of a horse racing bet this week. South, we're going to stick with you for the next one, and I know Jason's going to have some comments on this because he mentioned it earlier in the show. Good Sprite here, just over 14 to 1.
So,
South, you there?
sorry, I disappeared there. You know, you get phone calls on your phone.
Sorry,
guys, I'm backwards and forwards.
It's starting to kick in now. I'm expecting a guest on 4 to join because I know that's when some of the load shedding schedules in. But South, we'll start with you then on Hood Sprite. What are your thoughts here?
So this one, I really liked this horse a couple of months ago. I just really fancied him. I think he's, as Jason alluded to earlier, he's the horse that's come in, kind of been well looked after in terms of his merit rating and penalties as such. So he's coming in with a decent weight. And I heard on the show, the Hollywood show, they've had him up in Natal for some time now, so they've had to keep the powder dry on this one. And the run last time out, I think it was pushed too hard in that one run in Natal. I don't think he was given a very rigorous ride. I think it was a fair ride he was given. And just this one to me is a danger. I think it could. This one I have in my top 4. I think it could run into the money. I think it's beaten some of the top horses down in the Cape before. And just there's something about this one. I just think it's been coming in well. It looks like the Bulgarian from 2020.
Jason, you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back with you. I'll just touch on Committee Ding very quickly because obviously, South did tip this last year and he's alluding to it again this year. Class of the horse got a chance. At the weights, we'll really battle to turn some of the form around. But, sometimes class is better than that. I don't think the runs in the half-fault were Committee Ding's runs. I think that he's better than that. And I think the gallop was probably the best of the day last week. But having said that, he will be in my quartet. But, he's got a lot to do at the weights. Just purely on form and on weight turnarounds, a lot of these horses have got him held. But knowing the stable, knowing what this horse means to a lot of racing public out there, they'll be shouting him home. And, he could potentially, like they say, do it again, grows an extra leg at Greyville. This horse could also be there. Just very quickly touching on Hood Sprite. This horse, in terms of class of what he's running against, is not in the same class. But coming in with 53 kgs brings him right into the race. He's very versatile in terms of how he can run. Justin Snaith very candidly alluded to the fact that he's the Bulgarian of a couple of years ago. He's looked after him. He's coming in with 53. He's coming on with a jockey that's nice and confident. Hood Sprite's a runner. There's no doubt. Justin doesn't prime these horses for nothing. And the ones he primes, the ones that he's aimed this race at, he normally gets them close, if not spot on. So for me, Hood Sprite's a runner at 14 to 1.
Right, we'll stick to you. Sorry, I got a bit mixed up there as well with Comedy Dim, forgetting who to go to. Zapatilis, how am I pronouncing that, Jason? 16 to 1.
Yeah, that's perfect. Zapatilis, lightly raced son of Master of My Fate. Brett Crawford has kept this horse a little bit on ice throughout its career. Obviously, only had 7 starts for 3 wins. This has been trained up in the half-felt, and we're travelling down to Grable for the July. It's the same sort of way he did it with when he won his last race, beating Supreme Warrior in a very gutsy finish. A lot of people are saying, has this horse got stamina to stay? Brett Crawford says this is his best chance of winning the July. Now, they alluded to Addictive Ninth and a few other of these horses, Sail South and other horses, Captain America, I think he had. Those are good horses. And if he says this is his best chance to win the July, you've got to stand up and take notice. This horse is lightly raced. He could still be well handicapped, a little bit under the radar. Also very versatile how he can run. He's very much in the Aragosta sort of thing for me, where he'll be 4th, 5th, 6th, top of the straight. And if he's good enough, he'll finish in the first 4. I think this horse is definitely a runner in the race.
Alan, you in agreement with him?
Yeah, I think the Guineas is a good pointer to the July as well. I think it was a good run. Quite a rare thing to do, to go up from the Cape, base in Joburg, come down and raid into Natal. So he's obviously trying something new. It's clearly worked quite well. I know Jason said the people have mentioned stamina. That is a concern for me on the breeding, as well as kind of the races he's had so far. He didn't look like he was tiring in that win in the Guineas, but bit of a concern about getting the trip. But interesting to hear those those stable thoughts from Jason. They think this is their best chance to get a July, and they have had some decent runners in the past. Full respect, probably an outside place chance for me.
Right, well, just before we get on to the next horse, I'm going to come with our second question, 200 Rand Hollywoodbets voucher. Vin, you're welcome to answer, but we are limiting it to one winner per show, so well done on winning that first one. I've got a feeling we're going to get a correct answer fairly quickly on this one, and I've got a feeling the panelists would know this as well. And the question is, who was the last filly to win the Durban July? So I'll just leave that up there while we scroll to the next horse. And who was the last filly to win the July? But in the meantime, let's pop off back to South and go Jet Dark here at just over 16.5 to 1.
Yeah, so this is obviously Jet Dark. The talk was obviously Simon Kamalo taking the ride on the cock runner instead. I think this is to me, this horse is class. It's run against the best pretty much its entire career. Double Queen's Plate winner. I think its 2 runs in the towel this season have been okay. I think it was turning for home last time out in the Gold Cup Challenge. It was right at the back. Came through, had to weave through a little bit, finishing well. It looked like he, as a 4-year-old, he has to be given a bit of a harder ride. He kind of roused along a bit more than he used to be. But I think they're not going to run this horse in this race. It hasn't got a chance. As a 4-year-old that's won Grade 1s before, he has beaten the best. And I've got him top 3, top 4. I think the jockey change. Read what you want into it. They've got a top jock on board flying over from Mauritius in Waterbury Lane. He's won the July twice, and he's won on horses where he's had to really earn his crust. And he's a top jock. He's a heavyweight jock, so he only rides normally at the top weight anyway. So I think at the 60 kgs you get full merit for him as a booking. It doesn't ride that often for the yard, but the July he's won it twice. That gets a lot of credit to my book.
Well, Jason, there's not a lot of sports where you consider a heavyweight at 60 kilograms.
True that. What
are your thoughts on this one?
I can't have it, Listen, he's earned his merit rating. He's joined top merit rated in the race. I just think under 60 kilograms, draw 9, he's got a lot to do. Take nothing away from the form that you see on paper, but those last 2 runs in the Drillor and then in the Guineas, Samanga beat this horse. This horse gave him everything he had. I'm just worried that this horse has had 2. The last run in particular, there's just maybe a little bit too much taken out of him. At the weights, there's a few that hold him. Komati Ding holds him. You go back to a few other runs. Go back to the Rainbow Bridges form lines where Do It Again will hold him. So for me, Jet Dark, take nothing away from him. I'm not saying that Samanga should have jumped ship. I'm not saying that, but I just think that this horse, I'm not sure it stays 2-2. So I might be eating leather, but it's not in my top 4.
Right, well, let's quickly go to answer that question. Warren Peter was first up with Igugu, and I was just laughing, guys, early on in the show when you mentioned, I think it was the last time Mike de Kock trained a winner, Igugu, and I had it as the questions in a slightly different way. But I thought there's no doubt that both of you guys would have got that straight away. Kevin also coming in there with the right answer, but well done, Warren. Email me, brett@goodforthegame.co.za, and I'll arrange your 200 Rand Hollywoodbets voucher. We got 1 more voucher still to give away on the show, and 2 tonight on the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. That's our rugby betting show live at now. We've got a very diverse panel, including the return of the Oracle tonight coming back onto the show. So it should be a very interesting one indeed. Right, I'm going to start with you on this next one, Jason, and it's one that I know is going to get a bit of chat from South as well. Waterbury Lane at 20 to 1.
Yeah, listen, Brent, I don't know what to make of this horse. Obviously, healthy respect for Dean Canema and Keegan DeMello. I think, the last run in the Daily News was running on nicely. Second fastest 400 to finish. Obviously carrying 53. A lot of people are saying this is the dark horse in the race, 20 to 1. I know you could have got 30 to 1 earlier, and probably, I think South probably got a few more rand earlier on, maybe anti-post. Can it win the race? I'm not so sure. Can it finish top 6? Yes. I'm just worried that there's a few others in here, i.e. the likes of Zapatilis, There's a few that finished ahead of him in the run behind Double Superlative and Kenilworth. He's got to up his game, and based on his last run, maybe perhaps they're finding the best of him now, and he can run at them late. But on paper, on form, he's got a few to beat.
Right, Alan. I know that you obviously often tip horses quite early up in the forum, as Jason says, anti-post. Were you on this one, anti-post?
Not so much. I was actually just, I got burnt on the other runner from the yard, Cosmic Highway, way earlier in the year. I like to find a horse that I think is my potential. Looking for a 3-year-old that can shine in the July, and I found this Cosmic Highway, and I was convinced that was the stable's main runner, and it sounded like he was, and then all of a sudden he ran a poor race in the I think the Guineas, and he was scratched from the July and then reverted back to Sprite. So I looked at the stablemate. Now I think the run in the Daily News, as you say, finished the race off quite well, right on top of Pomp and Power, and you're looking at like a price which is double or triple what a Pomp and Power is. So for me on that run, and this horse probably needs a true run race. Probably needs a bit of pace up front, and the Daily News wasn't a great pace, certainly for the first half of the race. It was pretty slowly run. So to me, this horse just needs a bit of pace, but I've got full respect for the trainer and the jockey. The jockey's been my go-to this season. Just it's an incredible season. I think he's had his best season by far. I think he's
done very well.
He must have a new agent or something's changed, because he's getting great rides for all the big yards, and he's also traveling a lot as well up and down the country. So big respect for the jock and the stable combination. I just think this one, I'm always looking for a 3-year-old that can, a bit like with Comedy doing last year, I'm looking for a 3-year-old that maybe hasn't quite hit its peak form, shown its best, shown its full hand. And this is the one for me. It's not in the class of Comedy doing, and that's why we're getting kind of the big price. But I've got it in my top few. I just think it's one that could really run at them late, handy weight, and that's probably on paper. Other 3-year-olds look stronger, but I'm just always looking for that 3-year-old that's got a bit more to come. And to me, he ticks that box.
I'll race you with Zapatelis.
On.
What, match bet?
Match bet.
I must say, South, just from experience over the years with Good for the Game, I know whenever you spot something at around the 20-1 level, obviously it doesn't win every time, but you've certainly got a higher strike rate than most people. So there's certainly going to be a lot of money, I believe, coming. Good for the Game money will come for Waterbury Lane.
He's got a great strike rate for Good for the Game. He's got a great strike rate.
Right, let's go. The last horse that I'm just going to cover individually now, and I'll start with South on this one. Bulgarian at 25-1.
I won't talk too much on it. I think he obviously a winner in 2020. Obviously had injury issues. Hasn't had too many outings since. To me, it's just not for me. As a 6-year-old, the run last time out wasn't a strong field. Obviously showed a bit more sparkle than he had in previous outings, but I just think he's got a lot more to do. They brought him up quite late, up from the Cape after that run, so it was a late decision. I think the yard has been plotting out the chances of others in the field more so. So to me, I think Pierre Stradham's taken the ride on this one. So, that'd be a fairy tale. I think he's only a couple of rides back since injury. But I just looking past him for Saturday, not for me.
Jason, I hear Pierre Stradham. I mean, I used to follow the races quite closely. So I was back in the days of Stradham and Lloyd and that. I'm a once a year, maybe twice a year punter now, which is why I love chatting to you boys. I can't believe that Striker Stradham's still around. I reckon that guy's got 10 years on me.
Yeah, he's actually been off for about a year, Brent. He's had a very bad eye problem, and there was talk that he wasn't going to come back. He actually had to get special medical approval, NHA approval, to actually come back. And I think it was last Sunday, his first comeback ride was for the Snaith Stable on Nexus, and it was a winner. So for me, the only way Bulgarian's going to finish in the top 4 is with a bit of striker magic. I think this horse, I think he's done what he's done. A very, very respected horse. But I just think in this race, there's more around him that have shown a lot more recently. If he bounces back to best, it's like I said, it's a striker fairy tale, like Alan alluded to, but he's not going to be in my top selections.
Well, I'm going to bring up the overall betting now and just take out down that Bulgarian price there. So just I'm going to run through the balance of the betting, guys, and then Jason, I'll start with you. You can say if anything else that you give a chance or catches your eye, perhaps for swingers or places. Elmo Turner, I think it's pronounced just over 33 to 1. Red Saxon 40 to 1. Second base 40 to 1. Flying Carpet 40 to 1. Puerto Rico Manzano 66 to 1, and Asterix 66 to 1. Jason, anything that jumps out there from the bottom of the card for you?
Yeah, I'd like to touch on 2 or 3 very quickly. Obviously, we know we've got to keep the show within reason. Elmo Turner for me is in my top 4. I think at 33 to 1, this horse represents massive value in the race. I know that a lot of people say it doesn't stay. But, what I saw at Greyville when winning last time out, this horse quickened on the ticky. I think he's better at the racecourse than maybe he is at home, and that's why maybe Mark de Kock, feels that one of 2 other runners have got more chance in this race. But this horse, what I saw that day was an extremely good win in it. I can't believe it's blown off the boards. I think originally it was about 16, now 33s. I'd be telling people to lump on to have a good each way bet, particularly top 6. Red Saxon also, don't read too much in its recent form. The last 2 starts, this horse beat Safe Passage. One's 4 to 1, and the other one's 40 to 1. So if you're looking for a bit of value, Joey Soma knows how to win big races. Serena Moodley now takes a ride, obviously due to the unfortunate fall of Rachel Venica. He knows how to win around Grable. So if punters looking for a bit of there, my wife's had a bit of an omen in the dreams this last couple of weeks. So Red Saxon is definitely going to be in my play. And then just the last horse I'd like to touch on. There's a website I've been doing a bit of research on and doing a bit of looking at, and a lot of guys subscribe to the top tipsters around, the likes of Matthew Stevens and a few others. But there's a website, and if the guys are good for the game, I'm just going to have a look. They give a free week subscription. It's called ourpuntsmart.com. Their top-rated horse for the race is a horse called Puerto Manzano. Now, it's bottom of the boards, but this horse is quite versatile in terms of where it can run. Raymond Danielson's very confident, a very confident rider. So at 66 to 1, 70 to 1, maybe you can get 80 to 1 with your bookmakers. For the smaller punters out there, have a little flutter. I mean, I follow this website quite a lot recently, and their strike rate is decent. So, there's a few horses during the rest of the card that I've studied, that I've looked at, and then suddenly they're popping up top of their ratings, which gives me a little bit more confidence. So, for me, the lurkers out of the biggest shot horses are Puerto Manzano, definitely Elmo Turner, and Red Saxon.
Right, before South gives his comments there, Vinder's asking South of your success in the Summer Cup with Flying Carpet. You're not perhaps having some place bets on Flying Carpet. Well, that was one of the 6 horses towards the bottom of the betting. So you can answer that question when you tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the course, the Turfentine Straight definitely suited Flying Carpet. I think poor draw this time around, and the tighter Grable track, the shorter run in. Just don't think it suits this horse. Just think he's a bit of a galloper. Just needs a slightly longer run in, bigger track. So not for me, Flying Carpet. I think the comment around Puerto Manzano. Yeah, I think he's a versatile horse as well. He's when he gets to the front, he can be pretty hard to peg back. I did also have a side bet on him in the Summer Cup as well when he faded late in that race. So again, 66 to 1. What you can say about his price is that there are others that are shorter than him that probably should be a little bit bigger. He should be a bit shorter than the 66 to 1, definitely. Of the others, Elmo Turner, yeah, I think Jason's correct. A lot of talk about the stamina. I think, even in that Summer Cup run where he was sort of midfield, he was running on, he was staying on. It wasn't dropping back. So I wouldn't read too much into it. Finished that race off well last time out. So, yeah, 33 to 1. Yeah. But again, surprised by the drift. It's a big drift.
Yeah, very much so. And he was the second fastest 400 finisher in the Summer Cup.
Yeah, no, he did catch the eye. So it's a bit of a surprise to see the drift. I'm not, you're certainly getting some great value at 33 to 1.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, welcome to Chris Sturdy joining us. I know Chris was one of those whose power only came back on at 4:30. He's going to have some comment for us later in the show as well. I'd actually noted his comment in case he couldn't make the show, but his wife is a part owner in one of the horses running in the 6th race, so we'll get to that in just a little while. But that brings us to the end of the July. I'm just going to get you guys to summarize your July bets in a sec. But just before we do that, let's get the third question out the way for the 200 Rand Hollywoodbets voucher. And this is not horse racing related at all. So, you can have a flyer at this one, guys. which of the three panelists up here, myself included, has the fastest half marathon? That's 21.1 kilometer time. And this could be a trick question. Let's see what you can come up with on that. Which of us has the fastest half marathon time? Right, let's see if anyone nails that one. I know where my money would be. Right, Jason, we're going to go through the rest of the card now, but in terms of your July bets, what's your strategy and where's your best bets sitting for the July?
Obviously, from a outright win selection, Brent, I'm looking for the value. I've had a few rand on Do It Again. I think that Elmo Turner is definitely worth a few each way rand at 33 to 1. Those are my top two. Might sound a bit strange, but those are my value plays in the race. And obviously, of the sort of the shorter priced horses, much respect for Safe Passage. I think this horse is improving. The comments from the stable were very, very, very positive. I think of the favourite horses, that's the sort of horse I might rove in a quartet with a few others. And then for fourth, to round off my top four, I'm going to go with the lightly raced 3-year-old Zapatilis. I just think there's more to come, and I think it's going to show Waterbury Lane a clean pair of heels.
Excellent. Well, we'll go to Alan now for his best. But I'll just quickly, a couple of guys, when I said trick question, they said none of us have run a half marathon. In fact, two of us have run a half marathon. And the trick question was actually the trick in itself because it wasn't a trick question. And Kevin Turner is spot on. Alan, you run a 1 hour 34 half marathon. I think years ago I did about a 1 hour 58. No, I lied. It was a 2 hour 10. So that's pretty good going, mate.
Yeah, it was in the days before kids. You get out, go for training runs. Those days are long gone now. So I'd definitely be a sort of a 2 hour plodder, I think, these days.
That's good. That's a good time there. That's a great time, 2 hour plodder.
I did that when I was 21 or something like that as well, also before kids. But Elway, what are your July best bets? Kevin, just confirming you are the winner there. Thanks for the other guys. I can see why you would say none of them based on my comment of a trick question there. July best bets for you, Sam.
Yeah, I think, obviously with the prices that we've got, pretty open race, I think each way is the way to go for me. So I'm firmly in two horses each way. Comedy Dung, I've taken 14 to 1. And Waterbury Lane 25 to 1 is the price I've taken. So hopefully you'll get around the 20 to 1, 25 to 1 on race day. Those are my two. My third and fourth, I'd be looking at Swingers. Hood Sprite will be my third choice if I were to kind of play around in Swingers and trifectas and whatnot. And fourth, I have Jet Dark.
Great. So that's the guys' strategy for the July. All right, we're going to now go through the undercard because, of course, sometimes the July is not where the money's to be made. Sometimes the money is to be made on the undercard. So we're going to run through that. Obviously, guys, if you don't fancy anything in the race, no problem. But if you want to run through any of the horses, let's go for it. I will bring up the betting here, Grable race 1. And I want to start with you, South, just simply because the moment I saw the top horse on the betting boards here, Butterfly Beauty, I thought of your old, was it Beach Beauty that you used to back regularly? And I wondered if there was any relation.
I don't think so. I don't think there's any relation. I'd be an idiot if I've missed that or in the breedings. I don't think it is. Jace, correct me if I'm wrong if you can see the race card there, but I've actually gone for a different one in this race. I like Feather Boa around 11 to 2, 6 to 1. I think this horse last time out, I don't know if you watch the replay, it blew it. It had the win in the bag, wandered all over the track, wandered left, wandered right. So I like this one. It's not a winner yet, but I should have won last time out. So I think it's coming down, and the trainer's got a great record coming down to KZN. So quite a high respect for that. And then just a complete outsider in this race, the first timer. I have no idea why I'm putting this up. Might look like an idiot, but the jockey and the trainer as well. As a new trainer or the first season trainer, great strike rate, really strong strike rate. So always look out for these first timers on these big race days. Just for some reason they pop up every now and then. So Acacia's Blossom, 25 to 1 as just no validation other than just a hunch on that one. But Feather Boa would be my pick in the first.
Right, Jason, what are you going to do to get yourself off to a good start? And I want to mention that my recollection of you, Jason, on a lot of these shows is that you tend to get off to strong starts in a lot of these meetings. You've had a lot of winners early. What do you fancy in the early one here, the first race?
Well, there's been a lot of money for the one Butterfly Beauty. I think you could have got 6-7 to 1 opening call, backed into I think 3 to 1 favourite now, or just over 3 to 1 at Hollywood. Very good form lines. This Miss Marquette that she got touched off the other day at Kenilworth, A lot of talk about this horse, so probably worthy favourite. But I'm going for the second or third favourite, Miss Daisy. I think 9-2, 5-1, some bookmakers. 1-2 starts. Unofficial ratings. Highest rated horse in the race. Obviously, they don't rate 2-year-olds, but highest rated horse in the race. Pierce Stratum, I think we'll be looking to fairy tale it up. First race back at Greyville on Saturday. At the July, first race up. I think that's where I'm going. So I'm going to be taking Swingers 1 and 7 and also Exactors boxed. The value in the race for me is definitely, there's Canadian Summer won well last time out, drifting. I think it drifted 4 horse widths wide, so that could also be anything. The value in the race for me is the 9 Mighty Goddess, the stable companion to the 7. Finished behind Maharani last time out, and Maharani's strongly touted as one of the better bets on the card. But for me, first race, I'm playing it safe because these 2-year-olds, you never know how they go. I'm going Swingers 1 and 7 as many times as you can afford. First and third favourite, but profit's profit.
But we'll stay with you for the second race. So then you bring that up there on the Hollywood side. This is, of course, live betting now, what we're bringing up there, because this is the website as it stands. Now I've got you here, the even money favourite. And Jason, what are you fancying this one?
I like the second favourite, Take a Note. I think this horse, it wasn't stopping last time out. I know it's trying the trip for the first time, but Gavin Lorena knows the horse well. I think the value lies with him. And like I was saying earlier, I've been studying the card and then looking at the analysis of algorithms, pure stats in that. And these guys put a lot of effort into what they do. And on Smart, this comes up top as well. So it's given me a little bit more confidence to beat the favourite. I don't think there's value at even money, although another tipster during the course of the week said this is probably one of the better bets on the card. Now I got you. Healthy respect for it, but I'm going to take it on with the 10, Take a Note. Of the rest, you could probably throw in a few others like Raffles, Blackberry Malt. You turn over the page, I think USA's Hope's got a chance of improving, maybe even Rafa's Boy. There was money on debut, but, the saddle slipped there, so that could also improve. But on the form lines that I see, Take a Note, the horse to beat for me.
Right, anything for you, Southpaw, in this one?
Yeah, it's one of these races for me where I don't tend to go over the really short prices. So I've immediately looked beyond the first two. The first one's been backed off the board, and that's incredible. 7-2 into evens for a 2-year-old. I'm a bit nervous about a 2-year-old at evens, if I'm honest, on a big day like this. I've gone for Pure Maverick, just over 12-1. Needed the gelding by the looks of it. Good first run after the gelding in very soft conditions in the Cape. So it's booked that one of the horses booked the late ticket up to the race day from the Snaith Yard. 12-1 Snaith Free. I can't complain. I'll take it each way.
Hundreds, and it drifted from 5s. It opened at 5s. So take the 12s. I think it'll start about 7s or 8s.
Yeah.
Expect some money to come there for Pure Maverick. Southpaw, we're going to stick with you for the third race here. We've got the favourite Airways Law at 2-1 back, open 7-2. And one-way traffic currently 11-2. That's also come in slightly from an opening of around about the 13-2 mark.
Yeah, there's a few horses in these first few races that have been well backed on this week already. This is one of them. I've actually gone for what's now second, for about third, fourth rate when I backed it early in the week. One-way traffic. I think this one from the Snaith Yard. I think they had it entered into the July for a while. Obviously, it didn't quite work out. Not hugely impressed by the ride last time out. I think it could have probably gone a little closer, but just a sort of runner, I think, from the Snaith Yard, I think could go on this race. I'm taking on the favourite. Obviously, the favourite didn't get into the Julys. I know the connections were a bit disappointing about that, and it's got lots of scope, the favourite, but just looking for a bit of value. I like one-way traffic each way. It's 11-2.
Little Woozy?
I think the favourite's the horse to beat. Obviously got a lot to prove, a lot being said in the press and the Sporting Post about how upset the connections are. I have to agree with them. I think this horse, it got raised 18 points for its last win. So, it's got a bit to do now. If it's got to affirm the handicap is sort of faith in its ability. But stables well. Gareth Wright knows this horse. Definitely the horse to beat, but I'm going to go each way on number 1, Cholima. If I like the favourite at the weights, I've got to like Cholima, who's down 1.5 kgs based on their last run. I think he's 4 or 5 kgs better off with the favourite. He's been backed in from 20-1 into 10-1, and that'll be my each way sort of play of the race, along with exactors and swingers with the favourite.
Right, we'll go to race 4 then, Jason, and start off with you. Here we've got Blackthorn, the favourite here at 5-6. having opened at over 28 to 10, and sold Mundi second favourite. That's on the drift of it, just out over 7 to 2.
Yeah, there has been a scratching. Crimson King has come out, so it was a 15% deduction, if I remember correctly. I'm not going to dwell on the race too much. I respect a few of these hard-knocking types, Smoking Hot, Imperial Ruby, Salvatore Mundi's, that is the main danger to the favourite. But I'm going to be starting off with Banker in the pick 6. I don't think Blackthorn's going to get beat. His form speaks for itself. He's run very close up to Nebraska. If Nebraska was in this race, Nebraska would be 5 to 10. I think this is one of your better bets on the card. And for me, you got to go light somewhere in the pick 6. For me, it's, a lot of people say you go field in the first leg and then play around so that at least you don't go out. I'm in or out first leg, Banker the 8.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, a pick 6 strategy, I think probably the best pick 6 strategy is not to have a strategy, to base it. Like they always say, a rugby player must play what's in front of them. Because I tend to be like that as well. I often load up the early race because I want to be involved later on, and then the bloody odds-on favourite wins, and you're thinking, well, I should have just banked the thing. Alan, what are your thoughts on this one?
I've skipped this race at the moment, Brent. I just haven't really put too much thought into it. I saw the money coming for the favourite, and it's a sort of race where I've got to respect that, and if I'm not going to back it at that sort of price, so probably one I'll just play some exotics around, but no strong thoughts on it. I've actually skipped it in terms of any outright bet at this point.
Right, well, we'll stick with you then for the Golden Slipper. That's Grable race 5. Maharani, I won't even try to pronounce that. I'll let you do it. That's just over 14 to 10. Sweet Pepper is priced at just over 15 to 10. So bookings betting quite close to the top 2 on the betting boards, Adam.
It's a bit like the second race, you're either with the favourites or you're against them, and guys on Good for the Game know me. I'm not going to be backing a 15 to 10. Unfortunately, that's not my style. But I've heard a lot of talk about the top 2, certainly the top 1. I was a little bit worried of whether the track will quite suit him. Suit her. So that's my only concern. But I think that the stable think a huge amount of her. I've actually gone for an outsider here. Time 4 Orchids. I don't know what why the R is missing, but Time 4 Orchids. No, it's not. That's the actual name of the horse for some reason. So it's a bit odd. 25 to 1. Just what caught my eye is the 4 Mines. I just noticed that 2 decent winners came out of it the last week or two. One on midweek this week, so that really stood out for me. And 25 to 1 outside draw. But I like the trainer. I like the jock. Can't go wrong. Hopefully, runs into the money each way. We get more for a place than we do on a win on the favourites.
Jason?
Yeah, I can't dispute what South says. I mean, obviously in these races, especially the 2-year-olds, you are always looking for the value. I think the next 2-year-old race is possibly a field race in the pick 6. But like I said, you got to go light somewhere in the pick 6. I've gone the 2 top of the boards here, 4 and 9. Maharani is going to be there, so you're going to get a run for your money no matter what. She runs handy, she goes. But I think Sweet Pepper is something quite special. A lot of people said that the way that they were priced up was too much of a discrepancy in the beginning, and I tend to agree with that. For me, Sweet Pepper would be my narrow first selection because the way she closes, the way she finishes. That Ellen Robinson that she won, brilliant race. So for me, I'm going 4 and 9. The value in the race, no doubt, lies with Time for Orchids. I think that's got to be there. And the other 2 that I'll be throwing into your quartets is Amina. Glenn Cotson's been very bullish in the press. Was very bullish about this horse last start. Ran 6, and he says he doesn't know what went wrong. So it was 6 to 1 that day. It's now 16 to 1. So you follow the Cotson yard, you got to throw that in. And then number 13, Ride On, Pierce Stratum. I like the way this horse finished behind Sweet Pepper last time out. I think that it'll enjoy the 1400. The draw's a worry, but be running on at them too. So, healthy respect for the top 2 in the board, and I think those 2 will fight it out. But for your swingers and quartets and that, throw in 7, 13, 14.
Jason, we'll stay with you for the next race. That's the Golden Horseshoe race, number 6 at Grable. Greencock here, the favourite, just over 3 to 1 ahead of Bright Green. And it doesn't look like there's been too much betting movement on this race yet.
Yeah, it's the toughest race on the card for me. These 2-year-olds, you don't know how they improve. I mean, they at home they could be one thing, but on a race course they could be another. Glenn Cotson holds a very strong hand in this race. I'll touch on his runners very quickly. Imposing, done nothing wrong. Obviously, still a maiden, but the way it's finished the last 2 in its 2 starts, shows that it'll enjoy the step up to 1,400 meters. Richard Fourie has jumped off Countdown onto Imposing. So I think, the draw one will definitely suit him. And I think Imposing is good value at about 8-10 to 1. Countdown, funny enough, Glenn Cotson, if you just go on to a few of the other websites and look at what his trainer comments are, he can't believe that Richard's jumped off this. So if you read into something like that, 33 to 1 is a massive price for Countdown. So punters out there that are looking for value, like South does, just understanding the trainer and how he's talking about this horse, this could represent good value. He's bottom of the boards at 33 to 1. He'd be in my top 4 in terms of outright selection. So 1 and 6 for me there. 7, Greencock, no stamina doubts, won very well last time out. I don't think he beats as good as he's facing now. So he's got it all to do. And then the last of the other runners is Cousin Casey. So also going for a hat-trick. So Glenn Cotson got a great hand. I think you can't write off the likes of Prophet, who got into a scrimmaging match with Imposing and Countdown in the last start. So this horse was touted by Bas Cornet-Spies as the banker of the day. So you got to give that a chance. You give that a chance, you got to look how Bright Green won its maiden. Very muddling race. It's not a race for me that I'd be having any sort of hard bets on the nose, but for me the value in the race could lie with 6 Countdown, but I do make 14 Bright Green the horse to beat on what I saw. Yes, it didn't beat, we don't know what it's beaten yet, but that electric turn of foot up the inside rail, Grable, was very cool to see. So I think the 14's the horse to beat, with the 6 as very much the big value, just listening to the trainer comment.
Right, well, I'm just going to bring up the comments, Southie, of Chris Sturdy that he did send me before the show as well. Royal Victory could be a lively roughie at around 25 to 1. It's actually out now to 33 to 1. Now, Chris's wife has got a share in this, and he's very, very excited. And what a great experience for him to be involved in this race day. What are your thoughts on this one? Is it as wide open as Jason has suggested?
It's kind of weird. It's one of the most wide open races, and it's actually one I really like in the race. And it's a bit odd. Normally, I wouldn't be playing a single horse in a race like this. But I do like Bright Green. That win that debut, it didn't win like a 2-year-old. It won like a 2-year-old that's like had about 3 or 4 runs under the belt. You just got to watch that run again. It was really impressive. Yeah. Knew what it was doing on the track, had its A game. It was a really impressive run. So and actually went off at a decent price. So I'm not sure there was a huge amount of stable money on it. But just the way it won, and the stables sound really confident in the interviews afterwards. So at the draw, bit of a concern. I've taken the 5 to. I took 5 to 1 on it already. I had it down as one of my better bets. But listening to what Jason's saying, I probably need to load up on this race in the pick 6. Chris and Natasha's runner. I mean, massive excitement to have a runner on a race day like the July. It's huge. So I think it's probably got a few to beat, but got to give it a chance in this race. Running on, it's already won at the track. Actually, quite a few of them won at the track. So big respect. I do like a little bit of Miss Cool as well, the filly. She flopped her lines a little bit last time, but
it's been money there.
Yeah, I think if you take some of the she's beaten the boys up on the high flop before, so I do a bit of respect for her. If she comes back to her best, I mean, you don't put a filly in this race if she's not got a chance. So for me, Bright Green, Miss Cool, and I'll stick in from a loyalty point of view, Royal Victory as an outsider.
Yeah, Royal Victory will certainly be shouting that one home for you, just from a personal basis. What a great pleasure that would be, and let's hope it can run somewhere and give you a good run for your money. Let's move on now to race 8. We'll stick with you, South. This is we're obviously skipping race 7 because we covered that in the July.
Yeah.
Excuse me, this is the Garden Prop Stakes. And South, we've got Captain's Ransom here. By far, from what we've seen so far, the shortest price on the day at 4 to 10. Is this
best horse in the country? Yeah, you should best horse in the country. I mean, if there are races that she could run against the males more often, she'd be teaching them, a few of them a lesson. Honestly, this horse is massively impressive. So, I mean, this could be a pick 6 banker for some. 4 to 10, 3 to 10, you can't back it outright. I just looked for value again, big outsider for me, looking for one that's got a bit more scope, a bit more to come. I think some of the others have been had top class form before, but haven't quite sparkled this season. So I like Oscar's winner around 25 to 1 as just a complete rank outsider. Found trouble in running last time out, and form before that was rock solid, a couple of wins in a row. So just a complete outsider, one that I think will probably be better in next season, but could run into the money. Oscar's winner.
Yeah, I see it was 50 to 1 and it's 25, which is, I mean, it doesn't make that much money, I don't think, to move a horse from 50 to 25, but there's some interest there. Jason?
Captain's Ransom is another pick six banker. I mean, I know she fluffed her lines in this race last year where she finished sixth, but she is the best horse in the country in terms of how she runs. She's so versatile up to 16 sort of 100 meters. She shouldn't have won the 1200 at Scottsville. Let's be honest. There was just true guts and determination. I think she's going to be very hard to beat. And like South says, no value in the price. So, if you're looking for me, I'd be doing exactors in that with the likes of Zarina. I agree with South. Oscar's winner must be a nice horse to run into the money. And then Marina. I think we mustn't write off our Marina just yet, South. I think this horse, yes, the last couple of starts have been too poor to really, really believe. And I know the stable jock's on Zarina, but for me, I think Marina's a runner. So I'll be taking exactors, sort of bank of the 8 with maybe 3, 4, 6, and 10, or smaller guys, maybe the 4, 6, and 10. But Captain's Ransom, yeah. A lot of people will be throwing pick six tickets away if she doesn't win.
Jason, will you be posting a pick six on the Good for the Game forum for the guys who want to pop on and have a look at what your pick six looks like?
Perfect. I've done a race by race summary. Like South is a little bit more wishy-washy than South straight to the point one. I'll post that probably tomorrow. Just wait for a little bit to see if there's any more scratchings, and I'll post a skeleton pick six. I'll keep it around sort of 300 Rand, and guys can just post their own selections thereof. Obviously, I will include Souths because it's nice to have a bit of synergy between the two. And obviously, I said let's go wide in race 6, but in the skeleton, we'll go a bit short with the likes of Bright Green and one or two of the others.
Yeah, I must say, what I like to do sometimes, I don't play the horses that often, but when I do play a pick six or something, I go through the Good for the Game forum, and we got 3, 4, 5 regulars that post there like South, and I kind of try and cover them as much as possible. Obviously, if they're differing on a lot of horses, you have to watch the budget a bit, but I enjoy doing that, and I'll also put together something for the weekend and certainly follow you on your pick six. Jason, let's stay with you for Grable race 9. And we're getting to obviously the final leg of the pick six, so interested to see what you've got here. And we're getting to get out stakes as well. If you had a bad day, a few races left, you have to start firing. William Robertson, 4 to 1 favourite here. And this looks a pretty open race based on the betting.
Yeah, I think it's an open race. One of our trusted form studiers during the course of the week, that Robert might have mentioned on our little chat, he thinks it's quite a cut and dried race. He makes Coin Spinner the horse to beat and tremendous value. So, if guys are following the ringer, I have to mention him, then he thinks Coin Spinner's a very, very good value in the race. So for me, Coin Spinner must be a runner. I see Jermaine Maharaj and Computer Forms tips Vars Vicky. I think William Robertson, definitely the horse to beat, got the compression mask on. Last 2 starts have been very, very good in terms of how he's finished his race off. I'm also going to throw in the likes of Sound of Warning, the best weighted horse in the race. I know it's a filly taking on the boys, but the form lines are there. She's done nothing wrong. She deserves inclusion. And the other 2 I'm going to throw in is this course and distance sort of specialist called Pearl of Asia, who, if my memory serves me correct, won this race last year. So I'm not going to leave that horse out at 25, 30 to 1. Like South, we look for a bit of value. And then a sentimental horse I'm throwing in might be the last time he runs. In my head, he's been running with his stablemate Chimchuri Run, who's now been resigned to breeding now. I've got to throw Eden Rock in. I think Richard Fourie rides this horse well. He's going to be closing down very late on, and I also think 14, 16 to 1's a good price. So very wide open race, healthy respect for the top 2 in the boards, top 3 in the boards. I'm looking to beat them with a bit of value in terms of the likes of Pearl of Asia and Eden Rock.
Right, Alan, we're going into the last leg of the pick six. It's paying big bombs. What have we got riding?
Yeah, to be a very open race for the last leg of the pick six. I like one that I posted early in the week. It's come in now from 14s into 8s, Vars Vicky. I think this trainer, when he comes down to Natal, his strike rate is phenomenal. Really strong strike rate. So, and I just like the way it won its last race. It's won around the bend on Turfentine Inside course before, so you're thinking Joburg it hasn't run around a tight bend. It has already, so that's a plus for me. 8-1 is probably getting a little bit on the short side for me, but that's hopefully a positive sign. The money's coming, so I've taken the 14s, and in terms of pick six, I'd definitely be going wide here. It's open race all the way right down to Mr. Cobbs on his day pops up as a sort of horse that just occasionally, it's an older horse, but occasionally runs an absolute cracker. So I'd definitely be going wide here.
I would say in Grable is Eden's home. Let's go to race 10. We really are hitting the point where you've possibly made your money and you've stopped punting, or you're chasing hard. Race 10, I've got the betting up there. Just got to find the banner, because what I'll do is, I forgot to put the banner up, so I'll leave you to chat on that one in the meantime. South, we've got Warrior here at 33 to 10.
Yeah, I went right down to the bottom of the boards on this one. Hustler Manana, 25 to 1. So it's been running in the 3-year-old features. Not disgraced in some of the races, but it's been running against the best 3-year-olds in the country. Certainly most of the best 3-year-olds in the country. The double course and distance winner, so that's a big plus for me. Jockey booking, another big plus. And he rides for the young stable quite often. So just 25 to 1. Back in this sort of field, probably more is sort of class. I think could pop up right at the end of the day. So big outside. I think otherwise nothing else really jumped out. Gentleman's Wager, I think it was a bit unlucky last time out, so probably one that might pop up. Xavier, another one I backed before, but a bit short at 9 to 2 for me.
Right, Jason, race 10.
Yeah, listen, I can't fault what South said. I think Nyana is a big runner, and I think it's an open race. Xavier, healthy respect for that, healthy respect for Warrior. But the price is all wrong. Warrior's 33 to 10. Gentleman's Wager was 12 to 1. They finished at the weights. Gentleman Wager turns it around. I know Warrior probably needed his comeback run. But if you go watch the replay, Gentleman's Wager was standing still at the 200-meter mark. It got bulked so badly. And maybe this is an omen, South. Maybe I need to take the 2 7-year-old double, do it again into Gentleman's Wager, because I see it's another 7-year-old. But he looked full of life. He looked full of running. He looked like he was coming through to get close to the winners. I won't say win it, but 12 to 1 was the wrong price for me. I think this horse should be about 6 to 1. I still think there's value in 8s. So if there's 33 to 10 about that, there should be 4 5 to 1 about Gentleman's Wager based on collateral form. Healthy respect for Xavier, healthy respect for Arctic Drift and Lamu. If you look past anything here, you can make a case for a lot of them. Even a horse like Party Time at the weights must come into the race based on collateral form. I think this is a race where you've got to nail your colours to the mast. In terms of an outright bet, I'll be having a bet on Gentleman's Wager. But for your third jackpot in that, I'd play it a bit wide. I'd include all the horses that we've mentioned and anything that tickles your fancy.
Yeah, Chris Sturdy reckons the third jackpot is going to pay absolute rockets. So that's always something that can get you out of it. At the end of the day, Jason, we're going to stay with you for race 11. We're now into the penultimate race of the day. Grimaldi here, the favourite at 33 to 10. Being quite stable in the betting by the looks of things. What could be the tier? Or are we going for it?
I always try and beat the top of the boards. I know sometimes, when pick sixes and that, you've got to stick to the top of the boards. But for outright bets, I try and beat them. I think full blast is a bit of value in the race, 7 to 1. It's done nothing wrong. Obviously, in terms of going 1800, it hasn't won or placed in that sort of distance. But the way it's been running lately and running on and staying on, I think that's a runner for me. But healthy respect for the 1 Grimaldi. A lot of money for the 2 Conquer the Enemy. Also been running against stronger, so respect that. Sort of jackpot, I'd be going the likes of 1, 2, 3, and probably 6. And if the reserve runner, the 13, Arumugan, gets in, I'd be definitely sticking that into the jackpot too. But let's see what South says, because I'm sure there's a bit of value here. I know maybe we haven't studied this race too much, but I'm sure he's got an opinion.
Before we bring it out in there, Jason, I just want to ask you a question. How does this reserve runner thing work? I mean, obviously, if a horse pulls out, the reserve runner comes in, right? But at what point do the reserve runners become proper scratch? Because, I mean, it must be quite weird for a trainer, to prepare a horse for a race. And I'm thinking the July, there are 2 reserve runners there. What's the story there? At what point do they say, well, those horses are no longer part of the action?
Yeah, there's different sort of conditions for different races. So if my memory serves me correct, I think it's 9 o'clock on Friday for the July. The reserve runners become scratchings as such. But generally on a race day, Brent, 9 o'clock in the morning, if a horse gets scratched, the reserve runner can come in. Obviously, if horses get scratched prior to that, then the reserves come straight in. And in terms of the order of scratching, obviously Grable is very different to the likes of, KZN rating is different to Cape Town and Joburg, where, you've each got your individual draw. But in terms of the scratchings, that's the number draw the horse gets. So for example, if, Willow's Wish gets scratched, 13 will now jump out of store gate number 5. And then if another scratching, then 14 will jump out of that. But that's generally 9 o'clock on the day of the race meeting for normal races. I know the July is slightly different. I think that's the day before at 9.
Right, okay, now we can get Alan's opinion. Alan, I know when we spoke a little bit earlier in the day or earlier in the week, you weren't that keen on the 11th and 12th races.
Yeah, I'm not, at the end of the day, switching to the poly, not two races I probably hopefully need to avoid. I did have a look a bit earlier before the show started, and it's the 11th. I like Fateful Day, maybe at a decent price. Ignore the last run if you like, and its form line before that, rock solid, drawn on the outside last time out, and just a no-show race. But before that, form really good, course form is decent, decent jock on board this for Saturday. So 14-1, I'll have a little bit of Faithful Day each way. Don't ask me race 12. I haven't even looked at it. If you're still punting at race 12, sure, you're having a shocker.
Third jackpot, South. Third jackpot.
The Southpaw's going to skip on race 12, and we'll go straight to Jason on this one then. Jason, we've got to finish off now. I'm well down going into the last. Despite I took my own route instead of following your guys' route. What gets me out of it here?
There's been a lot of money for the favourite, Brent. I think 6-1 into 33-10. I've watched the last two starts, finishing like a steam train. There was no money for it that day, and obviously stepping up a little bit in class here. You got to respect the money. Then Cotson, when they put the money down, it's generally quite successful. Moosey jumps on board, which is another plus. You also got to depends on if Moosey's won the main race or not. See what happens in the last. I think that you got to respect that. Lady Macbeth, you got to respect good form over shorter. I had a bit of the 10-1. I thought that was good value. This will be running on. I watched it last start. I think that for me is the value in the race. My uncle and family have got a horse, Al's Princess, number 10. They look expecting a very good run in the race. Obviously, quite versatile race, quite handy, and hopefully kick on. And then the 2 so squishy. So I'd be playing a quartet in the last, Brent. Obviously, these get-out stakes is quite tough. You don't want to back a 33-10 shot when you do think it's the right horse in the race. So you try and find a few horses to rove in a quartet. I'll probably take a chance and maybe rove the 3 Lady Macbeth and the 10 Mel's Princess and try and beat the favourite. And just throw in a few extras. But, Glenn Cotson thought so squishy was the right one until he entered the 5 Marcheria More. So you got to respect stable comments, and the money's down on the favourite. But like South, I'll try and beat it. I'm going to go each way, number 3, Lady Macbeth. And like I said, take the quartet. As many of you can afford with the roaming bankers 3 and 10.
Good.
Did Brent's generator just jump off? What did he say? Let's have a quick look.
Neighbour's stolen it.
Okay, cool. Okay, all good. I think from our side, Alan, I think it's going to be a fantastic day's racing. Guys, sorry, Brent's Wi-Fi's just popped off, so we're just going to wrap the show up here. I'm sure you'll add our best bets in that. But South, from your side, the better bets on the card, where you'll be sticking your cash or have stuck your cash already.
Yeah, I've stuck on a few already. I think the Snaith Runner, one-way traffic, that'll be one of my better each-way bets. Bright Green, I might even just go win only. I think 5-1 each way is probably getting a bit slim on each way. I like some of the outsiders. The forget the name of the Tarry Runner now. In the juvenile race, the filly for Orchids. 25-1, so that one's my big roughie for the day. And then Hasta Mañana, another big outsider. Again, hopefully, if we need it at the end of the day, get a bit more money back then. Yeah, Vars Vicky as well. money's come for that one now. I didn't know it'd been tipped by some of the other tipsters, which is good to see. Hopefully, can pop up at a decent price for the rating trainer. Has a good record there. Oscar's winner, again, just a horse I think could show a little bit of form or a bit more improvement to come versus some of the more tried and tested fillies in that race.
Perfect. I see Brent's back on. Are you back here, Brent? Maybe not. He's there static. And for me, it doesn't take rocket.
Back, the Wi-Fi crashed there for a second. But
no problem. Welcome back.
Yeah. No, you go for it, Dave.
I think your Wi-Fi is still up and down a bit. So for me, you don't have to be rocket scientist.
I'll just listen.
Okay, you don't have to be rocket scientist to see the best bets that I like. I like Blackthorn race 4. Obviously, Captain's Ransom race 8. I think those are pick 6 bankers. I think structure your pick 6s around there. I think you'll get results in the juvenile races, and I think that's a good race. And then the July, obviously, I think there's a bit of value to be found there for your big pick 6 punters. Pool estimated to get to 12 million rand. And then the value bets on the card for me, the each-way bets. Race 1, Miss Daisy at about 5-1. You're going race 3, number 1, Cholima. I know the 20-1's been snapped up. I would have loved to have a little bit of that, but even 10-1, I think still value in the race. And then my main each-way play of the day is race 10, number 11, Gentleman's Wager. I think it's going to be a fantastic day's racing. Guys, remember, obviously, you can watch this on many, many different live stream channels, but for the guys with DSTV and all the rest of it, SuperSport are doing their own broadcast hosted by Neil Andrews. Saturday sees the return of Super Saturday in South Africa, one of our favorite shows with an all-new cast. So they're having a very much a specific day for the Durban July, which is always what it should be. Yes, you can watch the other races on Racing Channel 240 and that and other live streaming platforms, but I'm going to be glued, power permitting, to the live broadcast from SuperSport.
Sounds good. Great to have that show back on a Saturday, Super Saturday. Used to love that.
Yeah, it's very different these days. Got Nele Madoda as the joint co-host, so we'll just see how it unfolds.
I don't know if anyone can hear me, but thanks a lot to the boys for coming in if we can.
Perfect. Thanks, Brent. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Break a leg.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Escom. Cheers, gents. Thanks. Enjoy the July.